What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be going over everything that I'm going to be adding to my bass tracker. This is the 2024 Pro Team 175 TF model. Pretty basic, so it doesn't really come with any lights or accessories. So we're going to be adding a bunch to this boat, and we're going to see how it all fits, everything that I use. I'll walk through the plans for everything in case you want to do this yourself. I'll have everything linked below. So I got this radio speaker combo, and it's just simple. It's like 60 bucks. It's got two speakers that seem to have pretty good output. It comes with a little remote and everything like that. Pretty basic. Also got some LED strips. These are the RGB plus IC, so you can do all different kinds of colors, white. It's got a remote. It goes with the music sync and all that, waterproof. Pretty simple. I've got that actually strung out right now, but it's just these strip LEDs. Next, I've got all of these different pod lights. So this 12-inch one, I'm gonna mount to the front, and then these two 6.5-inch ones, I'm gonna put on either side. So it's gonna cast outward. And then these two, I actually bought two sets of these accidentally. I don't know yet if I'm going to use both, if I will return one, but originally I was just going to have two, and that's going to be on the back on either side of the motor to face backwards. Now obviously for all of these accessories you want to wire it up right, so I got two different size wire to go with this. I have 12 and 16, and then corresponding to that 12 and 16 gauge fuse holders that are going to go in line. Now for all of this, I'm going to have it controlled by this switch panel here. So this is a nice one because it has a power save feature. So when this is hooked up to power, all of these will be lit up down here just to show that there's power hooked up to it. Obviously when you switch it on, then this one's going to illuminate. But if you have them all off and you don't want it to be pulling any kind of power at all, you have this power switch up here that'll turn it on and off. And so even when everything's off, you can turn all of these lights off as well. So you don't have to worry about draining your battery if you go long periods of time without using your boat, etc. So the only thing that's not going to be hooked up to this switch panel is going to be the radio. I really didn't want to have to flip the switch and have it pulling off of this. Plus, it's going to be maxing out the amp ratings per switch with that. So I wanted to put it on a separate line, and I was going to direct wire it, just that way it's all set. As soon as we're ready to hit the water, we can turn it on, because it's got a remote. But I was actually talking to my dad about it, and he said it'd probably be a good idea to have it on a switch, because what if the bite's on or something happens and you just turn the volume down and then you forget that it's down, and then like I said, your boat's up for weeks in the garage and you don't realize that the radio's on, it's just turned all the way down, and then you drain your battery. So I agreed with him. I'll put it on a switch, but I didn't want it on this switch panel just because I want this to strictly just be the accessories like the lights and that kind of stuff. So I did get an extra toggle switch that's rated for the amperage that's going to be putting out. And these bass trackers actually come with an accessory toggle switch that isn't hooked up to anything. So I just got to get underneath here and I'll switch that toggle switch out, and I'll wire the radio directly to that. So it is still a switch, but at least it'll be completely separate of the switch panel itself. And then another thing that is going to be kind of fun is I've got these pieces of aluminum metal here. So I'm gonna have to try to make some homemade brackets for these lights. I was looking at some of the brackets online for this VersaTrack, and they're nice. It's kind of like how these ones are, but they're expensive. For one bracket is, $25 to $35. And so I'm gonna make my own. So on Amazon, I got this. It's like 13 inches or something like that. It was 20 bucks. And then I got these aluminum flats. There's two of them actually here, and I don't know, maybe another 20 bucks or so. But I can cut these up. I haven't decided if I'm gonna do 3 or 4 inch mounts yet. Probably 3, because this is 3 inches wide. These are 3 by 3 and this is 3 inches wide. And you'll see whenever I go to the front and talk about how I'm going to mount this 12-inch one. So probably 3-inch sections, and then obviously I'll drill my holes to secure my bolts in there and then to secure the lights as well. But I'll definitely be able to get more out of this for less money, and it'll be cool. I can customize it a little bit to how I want. But basically, when these are chopped down, it's gonna be over the edge like that, and the light will be right on top. All right, well, let's get into like piece by piece and show you the plans of what I plan on doing. All right, so what we'll start off with is the radio and the speakers. There's really not many options for me to install the speakers in the boat itself. On this wall right here, we have a live well immediately right here. There it is. So I really don't want to have to drill into this side and worry about compromising that at all. There are some sides here, but I don't want both speakers in the same area right there. And then again, on this side, we have another live well right here, and then this is where the rod holders are. So this wall, again, is still kind of out of the question for that. So what I decided to do is I'm going to, I guess, sacrifice a little bit of storage. We'll see when it's all said and done if there's any room left, but I'm okay with sacrificing if I have to use all the room. But the storage containers at the bottom of these seats, so they flip open and you have room in there. I just got some basic map and a knife and stuff like that, but that's all open. And so I'm gonna basically use that to hold the speakers. So I'll drill out a hole and those will sit back recessed a little bit in there. Same thing goes for the driver's seat. And then I'm also in the same boat with the receiver and the switch panel. There's really no place to install it that makes a lot of sense. Even on the side of the console right here, this area is kind of beveled here, and then you have an angle here. So there's nothing that's really flat and not a lot of big space to install this stuff. So I figured, well, when we're sitting down, we'll have access to both of these things. They're kind of in the open, so I figured that would be a good spot to put them. So I'm most likely going to be putting the switch panel on the driver's seat, just that way when I'm driving through canals and stuff like that, I can switch the lights on and off. That way I'm not blinding anyone or shining it through someone's home or whatnot. I'd rather have immediate control over those versus the radio. Plus the radio has a remote, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to also, you know, drill a rectangle out there, push that back in there, and I'm most likely going to sacrifice this entire storage space, and that's where I'm going to have all of the fuses and stuff like that, and the extra fuses, just that way I don't have those running throughout the boat. That'll just be kind of the main hub of all the electrical work. And then same thing goes for the radio receiver. That'll be recessed back into there, and I'll have a nice flush mount for that. Then I might, for the remote for the radio, and then I have a remote for these LED lights, I might install a little cup holder or something right here that can hold both of those remotes. I don't know yet, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so we're at the front of the boat right now, and this is what I wanted to touch on earlier. So the light that's going at the front, as you see, we got a lot going on up here already. So we have our trolling motor, which is mounted, so it runs across the top of the deck right here, and then this is where our Garmin's going to be mounted. So we have one of those big, I don't know, I think it's 12-inch screen, and then our live scope's going to be over the edge. So there's not much room for me to put a light bar here, and I don't want to have to drill too much, and I really don't want to drill into the top of this. So the VersaTrack system runs all the way up into here. So what I'm thinking of doing is, again, I'm going to cut these down, and so the mount's really only going to be, you know, 3 inches or so. But what it's going to do is, let me get this seated down right here. All right. So it's going to be pretty much at the bottom of this, so it'll be sticking up a little bit, but that's all right. But mind you, it'll be a lot shorter. So that's going to be off to the side, and then that's where I got this flat bar. So I'll cut it down. I'm not going to use the whole, I think this is 16 inches long. I'm not going to use the whole thing, but I'll cut it down. You know, I don't know if it's going to be 8 inches or whatnot. I'll see whenever I get to it, but I'll cut that down so it's going to be hanging over the edge a little bit, and it'll probably be even less than this. So it kind of looks a little exaggerated right now on camera, but it might only be to about right here. So maybe 3 inches off the side. I'll make sure there's nothing that's gonna get caught on it or whatnot. But then this light, this is that 12-inch light, will be mounted onto that flat board. Now these mounts can move, so I can put both of them closer to the edge over here, and it's strong, it's secure. I mean, this boat only goes about 35 miles an hour, so it's not like I'm worried about it ripping off with the wind. And we don't really get up into too many weeds, so I'm not worried about it getting caught on anything. And again, this is a bit exaggerated because I have to cut this flat bar down, so it's not going to stick out as far, but that's going to be kind of the gist of it, is hanging off the edge just a little bit like that. And then again, with those mounts, I can adjust it, the angle, so it can be up more, down more, whatever I deem feasible whenever I get installed. So that's the plan for the front. Now for these LED strip lights, I originally thought I was going to be getting 2 strands that were 15, 16 feet long, and then I was going to be able to have a connection up front, so I can wrap one along this side and one on the other side. But it came and it's one long thing, so I got to figure that out. But most likely I'm going to start it at this end. I'll run it all the way up, and the way I'm going to be running it, I'll clean up underneath this lip with some alcohol, clean it really, really good. And I'll probably end up getting an extra strip of adhesive or some silicone sealant or something like that. But it's going to be going up right here along this edge, and then it'll shine down. So it's going to be a cool effect. We actually put the colors on, some red and blue. It's going to look good just at nighttime, just kind of cruising around if we're fishing, just a cool little vibe. But also, because this has the RGB plus IC, it can turn to white as well, and so that'll be kind of like the utility light. So I can turn it on to white. Say we get a fish in the boat, we gotta, you know, get a new hook on the line or something like that. We'll be able to turn this on to white and actually be able to see inside the boat pretty well. The boat also does come with this little light. You don't see too much from it, but it is what it is. So we're gonna run that up along the edge. And again, I thought it was gonna be 2 strands, so I was gonna be able to have a connection up here. I can take this board off, and I thought I was gonna be able to connect it there and then run a single wire back to the power, but that's not the case. So I'll have to remove that board, run the LEDs around the edge, and then we get to this side. So you got a little lip here, which is good, but then you keep coming back and you got all of this. And then even at the back here, it's got this piece. I'm presuming it's hiding some cables, like the throttle cable and stuff like that, because it runs only on this side, not on the other. So that Versatrack starts again, but you can't get up under that lip. So I don't know yet. I might just stop the lights right there. I would think that it would have enough light in the boat, but if not, there is a little gap down here, so I might run the lights down, maybe do some under the dash lights. I don't know yet. So we'll see how that goes, but regardless, it'll be this whole side looped around to the front of the deck over here. So we'll see how that goes whenever we go to install it. Alright everyone, this is pretty much the end of the video here. I went over all the products that I'm going to be using, how I plan to install everything. So just stay tuned and follow along to see if this is something you want to do to your bass tracker. Leave any questions or comments down below.